The echoes of the Paris-Roubaix are still resonating, and we already have to set our sights on Gran Camiño in Galicia and the upcoming Ardennes Classics. Let's kick off this 10-minute update with a 1-minute individual time trial recap with a summary of the most important news in the world of cycling today, April 13th. And we do it precisely with those voices, reactions, and statements that have come out over the last few hours about what happened yesterday in that Paris-Roubaix, where the main focus was on punctures and the technical and mechanical problems faced by the cyclists. There's no certainty if Tom Pidcock will return in the Ardennes, but one who won't be there is Isaac Del Toro, and we're going to take a look at that as well. What awaits us over the next 5 days at Gran Camino, a race that takes place in Galicia in the north of Spain. Let's start precisely with that preview of Gran Camino, a race that was usually held in the month of February. But due to the weather and meteorological conditions, it has decided to move its slot on the calendar back a bit and will be held from tomorrow until next Saturday. Usually, each stage takes place in each of the Galician provinces. This time they will have to follow a route. Usually one of the stages takes place in Galician provinces. Each one takes place in each of the Galician provinces. They are Movistar with Ivan Romeo and Adam Yates, but we must not forget other teams that will also be present and will look for their opportunities in this competition. As for the Latin Americans, in principle, Ivan Ramiro Sosa is expected to participate, representing the Care Pharma team, who had just won yesterday in the Clásica de Pascua with the Dutch rider, this race that also took place in Padrón. Also representing the Burgos Berpelet team will be Eric Fagundes and Sergio Chumila, while waiting for the rest of the teams to confirm their participation. Jesus David Peña from the Portuguese team Levenepol will also be at the starting line. We will wait for confirmation from the rest of the teams for this race in the north of Spain. We will also look ahead to the upcoming Ardennes Classics, where it is expected that Tom Pidcock will be able to recover after the injuries he has suffered during his participation in this race. The team has stated that it is still not clear whether he will be able to compete in the different races that are part of what is known as the Ardennes Classics. Someone who definitely won't be there is Isaac Del Toro, who has already started his muscle recovery with the aim of returning in June. In principle, at the former Critérium du Dauphiné, which is now called Bernia-Rhône-Alpes, and which will serve as preparation for the main goal of the season, which is none other than the Tour de France, as one of the key support riders for Tadej Pogačar in this race. We are watching how the recovery of the Mexican rider progresses after that crash and his muscle tear in stage 3 of Itzulia. And we take another look at the reactions left to us by Paris-Roubaix, because it has become known that, as expected, Tadej Pogačar had to take on the final sprint with a tire that wasn't in good condition and may have been low on pressure, etc. That's what Antonio Morgado said. In the same way, Michael Berg has stated that even though it may seem like he doesn't know how to lose, he believes that the reaction Bisma and Alpecin had when Tadej Pogačar had a flat tire was not the most appropriate. Then we would have to look at the number of situations that have come up around these flat tires, because it's also known that Wout van Aert had a flat 3 times. The Bisma team reacted extremely quickly. In the case of Tadej Pogačar, the reaction came from the use of Shimano's neutral bikes, which allowed him to continue to the end of that cobblestone section. And from there, he switched back to his regular bike and was able to keep going until he caught up with the lead group, something that couldn't happen with Wout van Aert due to an incredible series of circumstances. First, the moment when the flat tire happened right in the middle of the Arenberg forest, an extremely tricky part of this race. It's usually where the contenders split up. The flat tire happens, he tries to change the bike with Jasper Philipsen They realized that the Belgian rider had some pedal adjustments that were under review, being analyzed, and that didn't match the ones Mathieu van der Poel himself was using. This makes him lose a lot of time, and he has to get his bike back. Where Tibor del Grosso had already changed his front wheel, which in the end was also flat. And at the end of that section of the Arenberg forest, he had to get off again to change his wheel. The difficulty that had arisen at the beginning with a bottleneck where the Alpecin team's support vehicle couldn't get through. Some riders and other members of the race bubble made it arrive very late. This affected Mathieu van der Poel, who lost more than 2.5 minutes in this whole process. A different thing happened with Tadej Pogačar, who had received assistance from his team car precisely in the cobblestone section. And let's say in some way, the reaction was extremely quick and only about 55 seconds were lost. It didn't reach a full minute, and this reaction was what definitely made the difference. However, Mathieu van der Poel said that he felt very satisfied for being able to reach the group that was definitely fighting for third place on the podium. In the end, for Tadej's team, the reaction was extremely quick and left a minute, and this reaction was the culmination of that effort. That's, let's say, roughly what happened in the men's race, because there were also surprises in the women's race. Also a two-person sprint in which Marianne Vos and Franziska Koch competed in the velodrome, an impressive sprint. The Dutch rider from Visma wanted that monument. Let's keep in mind that the reaction was extremely fast. She managed to win by less than 3 centimeters. It was quick. It was Franziska Koch, the German champion from France DG, which logically was extremely fast. And the reaction was that this same team had also won the Milan-San Remo. That is to say, they have achieved 2 of the monuments this season for this French team against one of the most important in women's cycling, which is Visma Lease bike. So, well, let's wait and see how things develop with the competition that starts tomorrow at Gran Camiño. Tadej Pogačar's team stayed in the area for the upcoming classics, which will still take place in that Brabant region on the border with the Netherlands and Belgium. So this will also be part of the attractions leading up to the Brabantse Pijl, to what happens with the Amstel Gold Race, and later another of the monuments, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. This doesn't stop. There have also been calls for them to reconsider. Pogačar stayed, the reaction was, and he returns to this type of race where, as they say, it's fast and the reaction was final. Tadej's team stayed in the
una temporada que comenzó muy bien para el corredor belga.
The reaction was quick and the reaction was extremely little. Little by little, the great Belgian cyclist is gradually improving ahead of the event that has been marked in red on the calendar, which is none other than the Tour de France. As for the rest of the cyclists, in the end, Pogačar's team stayed in the area where the reaction was extremely quick. On a bicycle, I am Iñaki Berrueta.